The fastest way to change your life is simple. Disappear from the person you've been and rebuild yourself into someone they won't recognize. No announcements, no warnings, just results. If you're watching this right now, it's because there's a part of you that knows you can't keep living like this. You're tired of starting over, tired of explaining yourself, tired of feeling stuck in the same place, thinking the same thoughts, and repeating the same habits. And deep down, you know exactly why. You've been holding on to a version of yourself that's done all it can do. It's over. It's time to let go. Because the life you want, the discipline, the focus, the respect, the success, it's not going to come to the person you are now. It's waiting for the person you're about to become. But only if you're willing to disappear and do the work in silence. Here's a truth most people won't say out loud. You don't need more time. You need a better strategy. And the strategy is this: stop talking, stop showing, stop explaining, go dark, focus on yourself, focus on your habits. Build a life that's so disciplined, so locked in, you don't even have the energy to update people on what's happening. You're too busy making it happen. The ones who win aren't always the loudest, they're the most focused. Let me leave you with something you won't forget. The real flex is disappearing for 6 months and coming back unrecognizable. Not because you want to prove anyone wrong, but because you finally proved yourself right. This is about building daily discipline, mastering your time, cutting dead weight from your life, and showing up every single day when nobody is watching. If you're ready to disappear from the old life and transform yourself into someone powerful, you're in the right place. Watch this video until the end. By the time we're done, you'll have the blueprint, real practical steps you can use right now to rebuild your mind, your body, your discipline, and your entire life. No hype, just action. Let's get to work. Chapter 1. Disappearing from the old you. When a man finally wakes up to the truth of his life, when he finally realizes that everything he's ever wanted, every ounce of power, every piece of peace, every level of freedom has been sitting inside of him all along, something changes, something irreversible. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. It's a decision made in the silence of a room where no one is watching. It's made in the dark, where the world has no influence, and no opinions, and no judgment. And it's in that moment he decides, I will never be that man again. I will never live one more day as the man who settled, as the man who waited, as the man who tolerated average, who obeyed his weaknesses, who made excuses for his laziness, who bowed to fear. That version of him, that version dies here. It ends now, and from this day forward he disappears. Not from life, not from responsibility, but from everything that's been holding him back. He disappears from the old story, and he rewrites a new one with his own hands. This chapter is for that man, for that woman, for the person who knows deep in their bones that they are done. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need someone to tell you how powerful you are. You already know that. What you need is someone to remind you that it's time to leave. It's time to disappear from the person you've been pretending to be. Because for too long, you've been playing a role that no longer fits you. You've been walking around wearing a mask that makes other people comfortable, but slowly destroys you. You've been pretending you're fine, when inside you're screaming for change. And I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to stay in that version of yourself. You don't have to stay in that old life. But if you want to be free, you're going to have to disappear. Now, when I say disappear, I'm not telling you to pack a bag and leave town. I'm not saying you should run away from your responsibilities or go off the grid and become a ghost. That's not what this is about. What I'm saying is this: You need to leave behind the version of yourself that no longer serves you. The habits that drain your energy, the people who keep you small, the thoughts that convince you to play it safe. You need to disappear from that life, like it never existed. Because if you don't, you will stay stuck in a loop that will never end. The same days, the same problems, the same failures, over and over again. You'll convince yourself you're making progress because you read a new book or listen to a new podcast, but nothing inside you is different. And the harsh truth is this: if you don't change who you are, you don't change what you get. I know this is hard to hear. It was hard for me too. Years ago I thought I could fix my life by tweaking a few habits. I thought I could just work a little harder, wake up a little earlier, and things would magically shift. But nothing changed until I changed my identity. Nothing changed until I decided to disappear from the man I was. I had to leave him behind. I had to bury him. I had to kill off every excuse, every weak thought, every habit that made me less than who I was meant to be. And I'll tell you right now, it was the most painful and the most powerful decision I've ever made. But when I made it, everything in my life started to change. And here's the truth you need to hear: no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to knock on your door and tell you it's time to step into your potential. You have to decide. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am not available for this version of me anymore. I am not available for mediocrity. I am not available for weakness. I am not available for excuses. I am done. And when you say that, really say it, you can't take it back. You don't get to flip-flop between the old you and the new you. You don't get to have both lives. You choose, and you disappear. Now listen to me. This is not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Transformation is not about comfort. It's about courage. It's about making decisions when you're scared. It's about stepping into a new version of yourself when you have no idea what's waiting on the other side. It's about trusting that if you disappear from who you've been, you'll finally become who you were meant to be. So how do you do it? How do you disappear from the old you? You start by making one clear, non-negotiable decision. You tell yourself, I am done living like this. I am done thinking like this. I am done acting like this. And you back it up with action. You start removing yourself from situations that pull you back into your old patterns. You stop hanging around people who remind you of who you used to be. You stop filling your time with distractions and noise and meaningless activities. You create space for the new you to breathe. And in that space you build. You build new habits. You build new routines. You build a new mindset. One day at a time, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. When I disappeared from my old life, I stopped telling people what I was going to do. I didn't announce it. I didn't post about it. I didn't need validation or approval. I just did the work. Every single day. And you need to do the same. Stop explaining yourself. Stop defending your dreams. Stop trying to get people to understand you. They won't. Not yet. And that's okay. This is your journey, not theirs. You don't need applause. You need discipline. You need silence. You need focus. And you need to keep moving forward no matter what. Some people aren't going to recognize you when you come back. They'll wonder where you went. They'll wonder why you don't act the same, why you don't talk the same, why you don't show up the same. And that's because you disappeared from the old you. You left him behind. And you're never going back. Not for anyone. Not for anything. This is your moment. Right here. Right now. No more waiting. No more wishing. No more hoping things will magically change. You have everything you need to change your life inside of you already. But you have to make the decision to use it. You have to decide to disappear. Disappear from the person who made excuses. Disappear from the person who quit when it got hard. Disappear from the person who let fear run their life, and step into the person who shows up no matter what. The person who does the work whether they feel like it or not. The person who lives with discipline, focus, and relentless commitment to their future. I know this isn't easy. If it were, everyone would do it. But you're not everyone. You're here for a reason. You wouldn't be listening to this if there wasn't a part of you that was ready to make a change. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't something inside you screaming for more. So stop ignoring it. Stop pushing it away. It's time. Time to leave behind everything that's been holding you back. Time to disappear from the old you and become something greater. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. You have to do it yourself. But you're not alone. There are people just like you who are making the same decision right now. People who are tired of being tired. People who are ready to change their lives. People who are disappearing from their old lives and stepping into their power. You can do this. You are ready. You are capable. You are enough. Make the decision. Disappear. And when you come back, you won't recognize yourself. You'll be stronger. You'll be clearer. You'll be focused. You'll be unstoppable. This is the first step to everything you've ever wanted. And it starts with disappearing from the old you. Right here. Right now. Forever.
Chapter 2. Radical Isolation. Why you must go dark. When you decide to change your life, when you finally make that commitment deep in your bones, the first thing you'll notice is how noisy the world really is. Noise everywhere. Distractions pulling you in every direction. People telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you should live. And if you keep listening to all of it, you'll stay exactly where you are. Stuck, confused, living in a cycle that repeats itself over and over again. This is why the moment you decide to disappear from your old self, you need to step into the next phase of your transformation, and that is going dark. Radical isolation. Total focus. Complete detachment from anything and anyone that doesn't align with the life you are building. You have to understand something here. Growth isn't loud. Reinvention isn't public. The most powerful changes you'll ever make happen in the silence when no one is watching. And the people who are brave enough to embrace that silence, who are strong enough to walk alone for a while, those are the ones who come back unrecognizable. There's a version of you right now that has been built by your environment. The things you watch, the people you listen to, the places you spend your time, all of it has shaped who you are. If you want to become someone new, you can't do it in the same environment that made you who you are now. You can't transform in front of the same crowd that expects you to stay the same. You have to step away. Completely. This is where radical isolation comes in. And I don't mean loneliness. I'm not talking about cutting yourself off from life. I'm talking about intentionally removing yourself from the noise. Creating a space so silent, so empty, that you are finally able to hear your own voice. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to go dark for a while, everything changes. You'll gain clarity. You'll build focus. You'll develop a level of discipline and self-respect that you never thought possible. Because for the first time in your life, you are no longer being pulled by outside forces. You are finally leading yourself. Now I get it. Radical isolation sounds intense, and it is. But it's not something you need to be afraid of. In fact, it's the most powerful tool you have if you want to create a life that looks nothing like the one you're leaving behind. Think about it. Every single person you look up to, every legend, every leader, every unstoppable force you admire, they all have one thing in common. They took time to disappear,
to cut themselves off from distractions, to put in the work in silence while no one was clapping for them, while no one believed in them, while no one was even paying attention. And then when they emerged, they weren't the same. They were sharper, stronger, focused, relentless. You can't become that version of yourself if you're still constantly plugged into the old life. So what does it really mean to go dark? It means you stop broadcasting your moves. You stop announcing your plans. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand the path you're on. You stop giving everyone access to your energy, your time, your mind. You lock in. You get quiet. You do the work. One of the most life-changing things you will ever do is to create a period of your life where you disappear from the old world, where you make your world so small that nothing gets in unless you allow it. No pointless conversations, no mindless scrolling, no time-wasting habits. Just you, your mission, and the work it's going to take to build the life you want. And this isn't about proving anyone wrong. This isn't about showing off later on. This is about proving yourself right. This is about doing it because you said you would, because you know you are capable of more, and because you refuse to die with your potential still inside you. The truth is, we've all been programmed to stay connected all the time, to always be available, to constantly consume content, news, opinions, and all of that is designed to keep you distracted. The system wants you plugged in because as long as you're distracted, you're not building. As long as you're consuming, you're not creating. As long as you're being entertained, you're not growing. Radical isolation breaks that cycle. It gives you back control. It creates space for your mind to reset, to reprogram, to focus on what really matters. Imagine waking up and not reaching for your phone. Imagine going hours without scrolling. Imagine spending days focused on nothing but your craft, your training, your personal growth. No noise, no drama, no opinions, just you and the process. That's where mastery is built. That's where clarity comes from. That's where you become dangerous. I want you to understand something. The reason this works, the reason going dark works, is because it eliminates the constant distractions that weaken your mind. Every time you scroll through your phone, every time you check your notifications, every time you engage in a conversation that doesn't add value to your life, you are leaking energy. Tiny little leaks all day long. And by the end of the day you're drained, you're exhausted. Not because you worked hard on yourself, but because you wasted your focus on things that don't matter. Radical isolation stops those leaks. It creates a container for your energy, a place where all your effort, all your focus, all your time is invested into building yourself into someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone unstoppable. Now I'm not saying you need to disappear forever, but I am saying you need to commit to a season of isolation if you want to change your life. Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 90, maybe it's 6 months, but however long it is, you need to give yourself that time. No shortcuts, no half in, half out mentality. You go all in, you go dark, and you commit to the process even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's where growth happens. When you strip away the distractions, when you silence the noise, when you stop getting validation from others and start getting validation from the work you're doing in silence. I'll be honest with you, the first few days will be hard. You'll feel restless, you'll feel bored, you'll feel the urge to check in, to see what everyone else is doing, to tell people what you're up to. Resist it, lean into the silence, get comfortable with it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that is laser-focused, completely committed, and completely in control of their life. And that version of you isn't worried about likes, followers, opinions, or validation.
That version of you is building something that speaks for itself. Going dark isn't about being antisocial. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that for this season of your life, nothing matters more than your own growth, your own discipline, your own future. And if people don't understand, that's okay. They're not supposed to. This isn't their journey. It's yours. And when you come out on the other side, when they see the person you've become, they won't recognize you. But you'll recognize yourself. You'll finally be the person you said you were going to be. And it will all be because you were brave enough to go dark, to isolate, to commit. So here's what I want you to do. Make the decision. Right now, commit to a season of radical isolation. Decide how long you're going to do it. Create a plan. Cut out the distractions. Build a routine that forces you to focus on yourself and your growth every single day. And then do it. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just do it. Go dark. Lock in. And when you come back, let your results do the talking. The world doesn't need another person who's kind of disciplined. It needs people who are all in. People who are committed to mastery. People who lead themselves first so they can lead others. And that starts with going dark, with embracing radical isolation, with creating the space for your true power to emerge. This is your moment, your time to choose. Stay in the noise, or step into the silence and become unstoppable. Go dark. Build yourself in silence. And when it's time, show the world who you've become, but not before, not a second before. Let them wonder where you went. Let them be surprised when you return. And until then, disappear.
Chapter 3. Starve the weak mind. The hardest battle you will ever fight is the one that happens quietly, inside your own mind. It's the fight nobody sees, the one that plays out in silence when you're alone. It's the fight between the part of you that wants to grow and the part of you that whispers it's okay to stay the same. And it's in those moments when no one is watching, when it's just you and your thoughts, that you decide what your future is going to be. You either stand up and push yourself forward, or you stay stuck, giving in to the easy way out. Every single day you are at war with the weaker version of yourself. The question is, how long are you going to let that version win? Because the truth is, if you keep feeding the weak mind, it's going to run your life. But if you learn to starve it, if you cut off its oxygen supply, you will change everything. And not just for today, but forever. Right now I want you to think about the version of you that's been running your life. Be honest with yourself. Think about the days you've skipped your workouts, the times you've told yourself you'll start tomorrow, the moments you've said you're too tired, too stressed, too busy. That voice, that excuse-making voice in your head, is the weak mind. It's the part of you that wants to protect you from discomfort, the part that whispers that you've done enough, even when you know deep down that you've got more to give. And if you've been listening to that voice for too long, it becomes your reality. Suddenly, what started as a whisper becomes the truth you live by. You start to believe you can't change, that it's too late, that you're just not that person. And every time you choose comfort over discipline, that version of you gets stronger. The weak mind feeds on your choices. It grows when you let yourself off the hook. It gets louder every time you quit. But here's the thing, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to believe everything your mind tells you. You have the power to silence that voice. You have the power to starve the weak mind until it has no choice but to shrink and disappear. And you do that by refusing to feed it. You do that by choosing discipline when it's inconvenient. You do it by doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Every time you push through the resistance, every time you take action when the weak mind tells you to stop, you take back control. You get stronger. You become the person you were meant to be. Understand this. The weak mind loves comfort. It craves easy. It's addicted to instant gratification. That's why it tells you to hit the snooze button. That's why it says 1 more hour on your phone won't hurt. That's why it convinces you that you can skip today because you'll make it up tomorrow. But you and I both know tomorrow never comes. All you have is now. And every time you choose to delay, to procrastinate, to avoid the hard things, you are choosing to let the weak mind win. But if you flip that switch, if you decide that you are no longer available for that way of thinking, you change the game. You choose to step into discomfort. You choose to do hard things. You choose to push when it would be easier to coast, and that's where the growth happens. I need you to understand how powerful this is. Every time you deny yourself the easy way out, every time you refuse to give the weak mind what it wants, you are building mental toughness. You are rewiring your brain to crave the challenge, to embrace the hard, to seek out resistance, because you know that's where you become unstoppable. And listen to me, you don't have to start big. This isn't about running a marathon tomorrow or building a multi-million-dollar business by next week. This is about the small decisions, the ones that add up over time. Waking up when your alarm goes off, even when you're tired. Saying no to the junk food that you know doesn't fuel you. Showing up to the gym even when you're not motivated. Getting the work done even when nobody's watching. Those small decisions are where it starts. And when you stack them, day after day, you look up one day and you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You've become someone who doesn't quit. Someone who keeps going no matter what. Someone who is in complete control of their life. The weak mind doesn't like this. It will fight you. It will throw every excuse at you. It will remind you of every failure, every shortcoming, every reason why it's easier to stop. But that's the moment you remind it who's in charge. That's the moment you take all the energy it's using to hold you back and you turn it into fuel. And every time you do that, you get stronger. Every time you silence that voice and take action anyway, you build momentum. And that momentum will carry you further than you ever thought possible. I want you to think about who you could be if you starved the weak mind for 30 days. Imagine who you would become if, for just 1 month, you denied yourself every excuse, every easy way out, every reason to stop, and instead you chose discipline, you chose hard work, you chose commitment, no matter how you felt. Can you imagine how different your life would be? Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop feeding the weak mind and start feeding your strength. And I'm telling you this because I've lived it. I've been the person who listened to the excuses. I've been the one who said tomorrow. I've been the one who let the weak mind run my life. And it took me to places I never want to go back to. It made me soft. It made me lazy. It made me miserable. But the moment I decided to starve it, everything changed. I stopped waiting to feel ready. I stopped waiting for motivation. I stopped letting my circumstances dictate my effort. And I decided that no matter what, I was going to show up for myself every single day. And when I did that, I found out who I really was. You have that same power inside you. You have the ability to choose differently, to act differently, to become someone you respect. But it starts by recognizing when the weak mind is speaking and choosing not to listen. It starts by building the habit of discipline, one decision at a time, and it starts right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, you decide, you commit, and you show up, because the weak mind is never going away completely. It's always going to be there whispering, trying to pull you back. But you don't have to let it win. You can starve it. You can silence it. And you can lead yourself into a future that looks nothing like your past. So if you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of wondering why you aren't where you want to be, this is your answer. Starve the weak mind. Stop feeding it. And watch how everything in your life begins to change. You have the power. You always have. Now it's time to use it. Stay locked in. Stay focused. And refuse to let the weak mind make one more decision in your life. This is your time, your move. And it all starts today. Chapter 4. The Power of Being Nobody. When you finally realize that you don't need recognition, that you don't need applause, that you don't need validation to become who you were meant to be, something powerful happens. You stop trying to be somebody in the eyes of everyone else, and you start focusing on becoming somebody in your own life. You stop chasing attention, and you start chasing purpose. You stop talking about who you want to be, and you start becoming that person in silence. The truth is, the world doesn't need to know your next move. It doesn't need to see your every step. It doesn't need to be updated on your process. Because the people who make the biggest impact are the ones who are too focused on the work to worry about being seen. The power of being nobody is one of the greatest weapons you will ever have in this life, because it allows you to focus on what matters. It frees you from the noise, from the opinions, from the pressure of keeping up appearances. It gives you the ability to put all of your energy into becoming unrecognizable without the need for approval from anyone. You see, when you're trying to become somebody in the eyes of everyone else, you lose yourself. You start playing a role. You start making decisions not based on your mission, but based on how it looks. You begin to live for validation. You begin to crave the applause. And before you know it, everything you do is for the wrong reasons. Your moves aren't about growth. They're about recognition. Your grind isn't about mastery. It's about attention. And that's why so many people never get anywhere. They're too busy trying to be seen as successful instead of becoming successful. They're too worried about posting progress instead of actually making progress. They live for approval and they die when it's gone. But when you let go of that need, when you let go of the need to be somebody, you unlock a level of focus and discipline that few people ever experience. Because now you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're not grinding for likes. You're grinding for your legacy. You're not posting for praise. You're working for power. And that's when you become dangerous. That's when you become unstoppable. Because the person who doesn't care about being seen is the person who is free to move without limits. They're free to fail in silence, to get back up in silence, to improve in silence, and to emerge when they're ready, if they choose to at all. The power of being nobody is that nobody expects anything from you. And that's your advantage. Nobody sees you coming. Nobody is watching you close enough to copy your moves. Nobody is trying to tear you down because they don't even know where you are. You're in the shadows. You're doing the work. You're building something solid. And when you do decide to come out and show the world who you are, you do it on your terms, and you do it from a position of strength. Not because you need validation, but because you have something real to offer. Something undeniable. Something that speaks for itself. I'm telling you this because I learned it the hard way. There was a time when I was addicted to being seen. I thought the more people knew what I was doing, the more successful I'd feel. I thought the more likes I got, the more progress I made. But what I didn't realize was that the more I shared, the less I was focused on the actual work. I was chasing perception,
not reality. And perception fades. It's empty. It's meaningless. You can't build a life off of applause. You can't sustain greatness off of validation. And the moment I realized that, I disappeared. I stopped announcing. I stopped explaining. I stopped showing my process to anyone. And that's when I started growing for real. Because the power of being nobody is freedom. It's freedom from judgment. It's freedom from comparison. It's freedom from distraction. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to explain your moves. You don't need to justify your grind. You just need to do the work, day in and day out, without needing anyone to cheer you on. And when you stop needing people to notice you, you start noticing yourself. You start building a real connection with your purpose. You start falling in love with the process, not the praise. And that's where the real transformation happens. But I'll tell you this straight. It's not easy. It's not easy to go silent in a world that's addicted to noise. It's not easy to stay focused in a culture obsessed with attention. It's not easy to move in silence when you're surrounded by people who are constantly broadcasting their every move. But that's exactly why it works. Because when you do what most people are too insecure to do, you get results most people will never have. You build something solid. You create something that doesn't need validation to stand tall. And when you do decide to show up, you show up with receipts. Not stories. Not posts. Proof. The kind of proof nobody can deny. So what does that look like? It looks like waking up every day and making your world small. It looks like cutting out the unnecessary noise. It looks like putting your head down and doing the work without posting about it. It looks like staying disciplined even when nobody is clapping for you. It looks like falling in love with silence, falling in love with solitude, falling in love with becoming the best version of yourself in a space where no one sees the struggle, no one sees the grind, and no one sees the sacrifice. But you see it, and you feel it, and that's enough, because you know what's coming. The power of being nobody means you don't care how long it takes. You're not in a race with anyone. You're not comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 10. You're not worried about where anyone else is, because you're too focused on where you're going. And the best part, you move without pressure. There's no spotlight on you, no audience watching your every move. That's your advantage. That's your freedom. And it's a weapon most people will never understand. If you want to change your life, you need to stop trying to be somebody. You need to stop trying to impress people who aren't even thinking about you. You need to stop giving away your energy to people who don't matter. And you need to start becoming somebody in your own life. You need to be the kind of person you respect. The kind of person you can be proud of. The kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to know they're valuable. So stop waiting for recognition. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to show the world who you are. Go build it in silence. Go grind in the dark. Go become so good they can't ignore you when you decide it's time. And until then, embrace the power of being nobody. Let them underestimate you. Let them forget about you. Let them think you disappeared. Because when you come back, they won't recognize you, and they'll wonder how you did it. But you'll know, you went quiet, you went dark, and you did the work. That's how you win. That's how you lead. And that's how you become unstoppable.
Chapter 5. Obsession is your new identity. When you decide that your life is no longer up for debate, when you make it clear to yourself that your future is non-negotiable, something inside you changes. You stop playing small. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop waiting for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances because you understand that they don't exist. You realize that nothing is ever going to feel just right. So you stop waiting and you start working, but not working casually, not working with a kind of try it out and see if it works attitude. No, you work with obsession. You show up with obsession. You become someone who is consumed by the desire to grow, to get better, to become the strongest, sharpest, most disciplined version of yourself. You make the decision that this is it. This is who you are now. Not someday, not one day, right now. And you hold yourself to that standard every single second of every single day. Obsession is the thing that separates the ones who kind of want it from the ones who are willing to bleed for it. It's the difference between the people who talk about it and the people who make it happen. And if you're serious about disappearing from your old life and transforming yourself into someone completely new, obsession isn't optional. It's the requirement. It's the cost. And the truth is, most people will never pay it because obsession isn't comfortable. It's not easy. It's not balanced. It demands things from you that casual commitment never will. It demands your time. It demands your energy. It demands your focus. And it doesn't ask for permission. It takes over. But in the best way possible. Because once you lock into something with obsession, once you become consumed by the work and the process of improving yourself, nothing can stop you. When you are obsessed, you no longer need motivation. You no longer need someone to remind you why you're doing this. You don't wait for inspiration to show up, because you are already lit up from the inside. You're already on fire. And that fire keeps you moving. It keeps you disciplined when you're tired. It keeps you focused when things get hard. It keeps you grinding when everyone else is taking it easy. Obsession isn't about being reckless. It's not about burning yourself out. It's about being all in, fully committed, fully locked in. It's about deciding that you are going to show up for yourself every single day without question, without negotiation, because you've made the decision that nothing is going to stop you. Now, a lot of people will try to talk you out of this. They'll tell you to slow down. They'll tell you to take it easy. They'll tell you that you're doing too much. But those people don't get it. And they never will. They don't understand what it feels like to be so committed to your growth that everything else becomes secondary. They don't understand what it means to want something so badly that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And that's okay. Let them stay comfortable. Let them stay safe. But you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to evolve. You're here to become something no one saw coming. And that requires obsession. Obsession is waking up early not because you have to, but because you want to. It's staying up late working on your craft because you can't pull yourself away from it. It's spending your free time learning, improving, training, building. It's saying no to distractions because you know exactly what you're building and why it matters. It's showing up when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel like quitting, and doing it anyway. Because you're not driven by feelings. You're driven by commitment. And that commitment becomes your identity. Once obsession takes over, everything changes. You start to move differently. You start to think differently. You start to see opportunities where you used to see obstacles. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter because you're too busy creating the life you want. You're too focused on the mission. And because you're so locked in, your results start to multiply. You start to see progress faster than you ever have before. Not because you're lucky, but because you're obsessed. Because you're putting in the work that most people aren't willing to do, and that work compounds. It builds. It turns into something unstoppable. But here's the part most people don't talk about. Obsession isn't glamorous. It's not pretty. It's not Instagram worthy. It's messy. It's lonely. It's exhausting. You'll have days when you question everything. You'll have moments when you wonder if it's worth it. And that's when you find out who you really are. That's when you decide if you're serious or if you're just pretending. Because obsession doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if it's hard. It demands that you show up anyway. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to keep going no matter what, you will become someone who can't be stopped. I need you to understand something. This isn't about grinding for the sake of grinding. It's not about working yourself into the ground with no purpose. It's about locking into a mission that matters to you so deeply that you can't imagine living any other way. It's about building something that means something, something that lasts, something you're proud of. And that kind of life doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen when you're casual. It happens when you're obsessed. When you're obsessed, you don't need balance because you've already decided what matters most. You've already chosen your priority, and everything else falls into place around that. You stop wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. You stop caring about opinions that don't matter. You stop chasing things that don't align with your mission. You simplify, you focus, and you execute. Over and over again, every single day. And the best part, when you live like this long enough, it stops feeling hard. It becomes who you are. It becomes automatic. You no longer have to push yourself to show up. You no longer have to talk yourself into doing the work. You just do it. Because it's who you are now. And that's the real goal. Not to force yourself to be disciplined, but to become the kind of person who doesn't need to be forced. The kind of person who just gets it done, no matter what. So if you're serious about disappearing from the old you and transforming your life, you need to get obsessed. You need to make the decision that this isn't just something you're trying. It's who you are now. It's how you live. And you need to back that decision up with action. Every single day. No excuses. No negotiation. Just execution. Obsession is the fuel that will carry you through the hard days. It's the fire that will keep you moving when everything else says stop. It's the force that will transform you from someone who talks about change to someone who makes it happen. And it's available to you right now. All you have to do is decide. Decide that you're done playing small. Decide that you're done living at half speed. Decide that you're ready to be all in. And then go prove it. Every single day. Until you don't recognize the person you've become. Until you look in the mirror and see someone who didn't just dream about a different life but who built it. Brick by brick. Day by day. Obsession by obsession. This is your time. This is your moment. Lock in. Get obsessed. And never look back.
Chapter 6. Training like a warrior monk. Discipline is the foundation of all power. If you want to lead your life, if you want to control your outcomes, if you want to become unshakable, then discipline is not just a habit you pick up when it's convenient. Discipline is who you are. It becomes your nature. And the truth is, nothing builds that discipline better than physical training. The kind that doesn't just change your body, but reshapes your entire mindset. The kind that strips away your excuses, grinds down your weakness, and replaces it with strength, focus, and resilience. When you train like a warrior monk, you stop being at the mercy of your circumstances. You stop negotiating with your feelings. You stop letting the day control you. You become dangerous, in control, unstoppable. You've probably been told to work out because it's good for your health. And that's true. But what I'm telling you right now goes deeper than that. This isn't about looking good. It's not about abs.
It's not about getting compliments. It's about building a version of yourself that doesn't crack under pressure. It's about forging a mind so tough that nothing can break you. And the easiest way to start building that mind is by mastering your body. Because when you dominate the physical, when you push yourself through discomfort every single day, you teach yourself that you can handle more than you thought you could. You stop fearing challenge. You start craving it. You stop avoiding hard things. You start choosing them. And that mindset leaks into everything you do. Suddenly you're not just disciplined in the gym, you're disciplined in your work, in your relationships, in your purpose. That's why I tell people, if you want to transform your life, you start with your body. Train it like it's a weapon. Sharpen it like it's the tool you'll rely on for survival, because it is. Training like a warrior monk isn't about ego. It's not about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about showing up, day after day, and doing the work when nobody's clapping, nobody's watching, nobody's validating you. It's just you and the grind, you and the reps, you and the pain is the point. The struggle is the point, because that's where the growth is. That's where you get to choose whether you stay weak or become unbreakable. Every time you push through it, every time you stay disciplined when everything in you is screaming to quit, you get stronger. You become someone who doesn't need motivation. You become someone who lives by discipline. And you have to understand, this isn't about intensity for a few weeks and then falling back into your old ways. This is about consistency. Daily. Non-negotiable. You don't miss. You don't skip days because you're tired. You don't skip days because life gets busy. You carve out time no matter what. You make it sacred. This is your temple. This is where you reset, where you rebuild, where you remind yourself of who you are. You show up because it's who you are now. And when you do that long enough, it stops being something you have to do. It becomes something you can't live without. Now I get it. When you're starting, it's not easy. Your mind is going to fight you. It's going to tell you to take it easy, to skip today and make it up tomorrow, to do it later when you're less tired or less busy. But that voice, the one telling you to stay comfortable, that's the voice you need to silence. That's the part of you that's been running the show for too long. That's the part of you that's kept you stuck. And the fastest way to shut it up is by getting up and putting in the work. Sweat it out. Grind it out. Break through it. You'll find that the moment you stop asking how you feel and you just move, you've already won. You've already shifted from weakness to power. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need the stars to align. You need to show up. And that's exactly what warrior monks do. They don't need a crowd. They don't need praise. They don't need anyone's approval. They live for the process. They live in the discipline. They understand that mastery comes from the mundane. From repeating the basics so many times they become second nature. They don't chase complexity. They perfect simplicity. And that's how you become dangerous. Training like a warrior monk means you focus on becoming strong in body and unbreakable in mind. You're not chasing the next trend. You're not chasing fast results. You're playing the long game. You're in this for life, because you understand that every drop of sweat, every rep, every disciplined choice is sculpting you into someone no one will recognize a year from now. But you'll recognize yourself. You'll respect yourself. Because you built it, you earned it. And the beautiful thing about this path is that nobody can take it from you. Nobody can do the reps for you. Nobody can give you the discipline. You have to earn it. You have to create it from the inside out. And once you do, it's yours forever. You carry it with you everywhere you go. That's why I tell people, don't train for appearances. Train for who you become in the process. Train for the man or woman you build when no one's watching. That's where real power lives. Every morning you wake up and choose to get after it. You're casting a vote for the person you want to be. Every time you lace up your shoes and step into the gym, every time you hit that cold shower, every time you push through one more round, one more set, one more rep, you're telling yourself, I am not the same. I am not weak. I am not average. I am here for more. And those actions accumulate. They build momentum. They stack up into something unstoppable. And it's only a matter of time before you start living in that identity fully. This isn't a hobby. It's not something you do when you have time. It's who you are now. You wake up and you train because you're a warrior. You move with discipline because it's your code. You push yourself because you refuse to be owned by weakness ever again. And as you live that day after day, you start to notice something. Life stops feeling so overwhelming. Stress stops getting to you the way it used to. You become clear. You become centered. You become calm under pressure. Because you've trained for this. You've built the mental toughness and the resilience to handle whatever life throws at you. Training like a warrior monk gives you back your power. It puts you back in control. And it reminds you every single day that you are capable of more than you think. That you are not your circumstances. That you are not your emotions. That you are not your old story. You are what you do. And when what you do is rooted in discipline, in focus, in relentless commitment to your growth, you become someone who can't be stopped. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for things to get easier. They won't, and that's the point. You don't need easier. You need stronger. And the way you get stronger is by showing up and putting in the work every single day. No excuses, no negotiation, just execution. This is your life, your legacy, your time. Get up and train. Move with purpose. Push yourself like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. And when you do that long enough, with enough consistency and enough obsession, you'll wake up one day and realize you're no longer pretending to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You're no longer acting like a warrior. You are one. Built, sharpened and tested in the fire of your own relentless commitment to mastery. This is how you win. This is how you evolve. One day at a time. One rep at a time. One choice at a time. Train like a warrior monk and watch what happens. Watch how everything in your life starts to shift. Not because it got easier, but because you got stronger. And now you're unstoppable. Keep going. You're just getting started.
Chapter 7. Replace excuses with execution. Every single time you make an excuse, you're giving away your power. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you're slowly handing over control of your life to weakness, to comfort, to mediocrity. And the longer you do that, the more it becomes who you are. The more it becomes your default setting. But here's the thing, you were never built for average. You were not put here to live a life of comfort, to stay the same, to make excuses for why you're not where you want to be. You were built to grow. You were built to lead. You were built to be disciplined. And none of that can happen as long as you keep holding on to the stories that justify your limitations. The time has come to replace every excuse you've ever made with execution. Not later. Not tomorrow. Right now. From this moment on, you know deep down when you're lying to yourself. You know it when you tell yourself that you're too tired to keep going. You know it when you tell yourself you'll start fresh next week. You know it when you convince yourself that your circumstances are just too hard, that things are different for you, that it's easy for them but not for you. You know that's not true. You know it's a lie. You know it's the same old excuse wrapped in a new outfit. But it feels comfortable to tell yourself that.
doesn't it? It feels easy to let yourself off the hook. And that's the problem. What's easy destroys you. What's hard builds you. And if you're going to rise up and create a life that makes you proud, you have to get ruthless about eliminating every excuse you've been making. Because you can't have both. You can't hold on to your excuses and build your dream life at the same time. One of them has to go. I get it. Life's hard. Nobody's denying that. You're carrying things that nobody sees. You're fighting battles that nobody knows about. And some days it feels like the weight of it all is too much. But let me tell you something, that weight is exactly what's making you strong. That pressure you feel, that's your training ground. And every time you choose to push forward anyway, every time you choose to execute instead of making another excuse, you're getting sharper. You're getting harder to kill. You're building something real inside of yourself, something unshakable. You can either use your struggle as a reason to quit, or you can use it as fuel to keep going. You get to choose. You have to be relentless about this. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else ever would. Because at the end of the day, no one's coming to save you. No one's going to make you do the work. No one's going to force you to be disciplined. You've got to lead yourself. You've got to become the kind of person who doesn't need an audience, who doesn't need a cheerleader, who doesn't need permission to get after it. You do it because it's who you are now. You do it because you made the decision that you are done living at half speed, done living below your potential, done waiting for things to get easier. You've decided that you are going to execute no matter what. That starts with the little things. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're the kind of person who makes excuses about small things, you'll make excuses about big things too. If you cut corners on the daily disciplines, you'll cut corners on your biggest opportunities. It's all connected. Every time you skip that workout, every time you let yourself slide on your standards, every time you say, it's not a big deal, you are voting for the weaker version of yourself, and the more you vote for that version, the more it becomes who you are. But when you show up, when you follow through, when you execute even when it's inconvenient, you're casting votes for the stronger version of yourself, the disciplined version, the focused, unstoppable version. And over time that version takes over. This is how you take control of your life. One choice at a time, one action at a time. You don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. You need to execute. You need to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Because feelings are temporary. Feelings are unreliable. Discipline is not. Discipline shows up, whether you feel like it or not. Discipline does what's required no matter the circumstances. That's why discipline wins. That's why execution beats excuses every single time. You've got to develop a bias for action. The second you think about doing something that's hard, something that's uncomfortable, something that pushes you to grow, you do it immediately. No debate, no hesitation. Because the longer you wait, the louder the excuses get. The more time you give yourself to think about it, the more likely you are to talk yourself out of it. You've got to move fast. Decide and act. Don't think, just execute. And every time you do, you build momentum. Every time you move, instead of making another excuse, you strengthen that identity of someone who gets things done. Understand this: excuses feel good in the short term. They give you temporary relief. They let you off the hook, but they cost you your future. Execution, on the other hand, feels hard in the short term. It's uncomfortable, it's demanding, but it buys you freedom. It builds a future you actually want to live in. You've got to ask yourself, which price are you willing to pay? because both have a cost. But only one gives you a return worth having. It's time to take personal responsibility at a level you never have before. Radical responsibility. No blame, no pointing fingers, no justifying, no complaining, just ownership. You are responsible for where you are right now. You are responsible for how you respond to life. And you are responsible for what happens next. You can sit in that and feel sorry for yourself, or you can use it as power. Because once you take responsibility, you take back control. You realize that no matter how hard life gets, you are still in charge of your choices. You are still in charge of your effort. And no one can take that from you. This is about integrity. It's about being the kind of person who keeps their word, especially to themselves, because if you can't trust yourself, you can't lead yourself. And if you can't lead yourself, you'll never lead anyone else. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't, you erode that trust. You tell yourself that your word doesn't matter. But when you execute, when you do what you say you're going to do, you build that trust. You build that respect. You start to believe in yourself in a way that no one can shake. So stop making excuses. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop thinking you need to feel like it to take action. Start executing. Start doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Start becoming the kind of person who moves first, who acts first, who gets it done without negotiation. Because that's who you really are. You're not your excuses. You're not your old story. You're not your circumstances. You are your decisions. You are your actions. You are your execution. This is the standard now. No more excuses. No more waiting. No more half effort. Full commitment. Relentless execution. That's how you change your life. That's how you become someone who can't be stopped. And that's exactly what you're going to do, starting right now. Because the old you, the one who made excuses, that version is gone. You've replaced it with someone disciplined, someone focused, someone who executes, no matter what. And once you live like that long enough, you'll never go back. Because this is who you are now. A person who executes. A person who wins. Keep going. You're just getting started.
Chapter 8. Build invisible discipline systems. Every person who has ever transformed their life, every single one of them, has one thing in common. They built a system for themselves that runs in the background, like an engine that never stops. It's invisible to most people, but it's always there. Quiet, unshakable, relentless. This system doesn't care how they feel. It doesn't care if they're tired or if it's raining outside or if the world is falling apart. It runs anyway. It gets things done anyway. And this is the difference between people who keep rising and people who stay stuck in cycles. The ones who rise figured out how to make discipline automatic. They stopped waiting for motivation. They stopped hoping they'd feel inspired. They built an invisible discipline system that carries them through every day, every situation, and every challenge. And that's what you need if you're serious about transforming your life. You see, discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do hard things every single time you feel resistance. It's not about waking up every day and going to war with your mind. That works in the short term. But if you want to win for life, you need more than raw willpower. You need systems that protect your energy, protect your time, and keep you moving even on the days you don't feel like doing anything. Systems are how you win. Systems are how you stay consistent, how you show up, no matter what. Because life is unpredictable. Some days you'll wake up and feel on fire. Some days you'll wake up and feel like you've got nothing left in the tank. But when you have a system in place, it doesn't matter how you feel.
It only matters that you follow the system, and the system takes care of everything else. Let me be real with you. If you're relying on motivation, you're already losing. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants to, and it leaves just as fast. Discipline through systems doesn't leave. It's always there. It's a structure you build that makes success inevitable. It's like putting your life on autopilot toward the person you want to become. And you can either build that system intentionally, or you can let life build one for you by default. But make no mistake, you already have a system right now. Everyone does. The difference is whether your system is building you up or breaking you down, whether your habits are serving you or sabotaging you. This is about getting intentional. It's about engineering your life in a way that makes discipline effortless. And when I say effortless, I don't mean easy, I mean automatic. You wake up and you know exactly what you're doing. You don't think about whether you're working out today. You don't debate whether you'll read that book, whether you'll stick to your plan, whether you'll do the hard thing. You just do it. Because it's part of the system. It's part of who you are. And you've removed the decision-making process. That's the key. The more decisions you have to make in a day, the more opportunities you give yourself to fail. The more space you leave for excuses to sneak in, for doubt to creep in, for laziness to take over. But when your system is solid, you don't have to make decisions. You just follow the process. Building an invisible discipline system starts with clarity. You need to know exactly who you want to be. Not vague, not someday, clear, specific. Because if you don't know who you want to be, you'll never build the habits that align with that version of yourself. So you start there. You decide who you are becoming. And then you reverse engineer everything in your life to match that person. What does that person do when they wake up? How do they spend their mornings? How do they train? What do they eat? How do they think? How do they act when things go wrong? And once you know, you put systems in place that make those actions automatic. This is where people get lazy. They think they can just wing it. They think they can rely on inspiration to carry them. But the ones who win long-term don't leave things to chance. They build routines, habits and rituals that stack on top of each other until it's harder to fail than it is to succeed. They make winning their default setting. And that's what you have to do. You need a system for your mornings. You need a system for how you start your day. Because how you start is how you finish. You need a system for your energy. When you eat, how you fuel your body, how you train, how you recover. You need a system for your mind. What you feed it, what you listen to, what you watch, how you talk to yourself. You need a system for execution, how you block your time, how you stay focused, how you shut out distractions, how you track your progress. When you put these systems in place, you remove decision fatigue. You stop wasting energy on thinking about what to do, and you just do it. And the compounding effect of that kind of discipline is unreal. You get better, faster, stronger every single day. Not because you're grinding harder than everyone else, but because you're moving smarter. You've eliminated the friction between who you are now and who you're becoming. And that's when everything starts to shift. That's when you start living in alignment with the life you said you wanted. This is what separates the elite from everyone else. The elite don't rely on feelings. They don't get caught up in whether they're motivated. They don't let life dictate their effort. They build invisible discipline systems that make winning inevitable. They create a world around them that supports their goals at every level. And if you're serious about transforming your life, you need to do the same. But here's the part most people won't tell you. Building these systems isn't glamorous. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's tedious. It's detailed. It requires thought, planning, consistency, and patience. You'll spend time designing your days when you'd rather just go with the flow. You'll have to build structure when you'd rather leave things loose. But that's why it works. Because most people won't do it. Most people won't take the time to build a life that makes success inevitable. And because they won't, they'll stay stuck relying on willpower, burning out, starting over, quitting, and wondering why nothing's changing. You're not going to do that. You're going to do the work. You're going to build your invisible discipline system, and you're going to make it so strong that it runs your life in the background. So even on your worst day, you still show up. Even when you're tired, you still follow through. Even when life throws punches, you stay in the fight. Because you've built the system. And once you have it, you're unstoppable. So ask yourself right now, what's your system? How do you wake up? What's your first move? How do you protect your energy, your focus, your discipline throughout the day? And if you don't have answers to those questions, that's your work. That's where you start. You design the life you want, and then you build the system to support it, piece by piece, habit by habit, until it's so locked in that nothing breaks it. This is how you disappear from who you were and become who you were meant to be. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's systems. Invisible discipline, running in the background, making you better every single day. You don't rise by accident. You rise because you've decided to build a life that makes it impossible not to. So do the work. Build the system, and then let the system build you. Day after day, year after year, until one day you look back and realize you've become everything you said you would be, and more. And you did it because you stopped waiting, and you started building. You made discipline automatic. You made success inevitable. And now you're unstoppable. Keep going. You're just getting started. Chapter 9. Kill your past relationships for now. The moment you decide to outgrow your past, something incredible happens. You stop allowing your old story to have power over you. You stop replaying old conversations, old mistakes, and old failures like they have anything new to teach you. You stop letting the version of you that couldn't handle the pressure dictate how you move today. It's like waking up from a long, exhausting sleep and realizing you've been carrying a weight that was never supposed to come with you into this new life you're building. And if you want to step fully into who you are meant to be, if you're serious about transformation, then you need to get comfortable with one simple truth. You are going to have to kill your past relationships. Not forever, but for now. You are going to have to walk away from people who aren't ready to grow with you, and it's going to be one of the hardest things you ever do. But it's also going to be the decision that sets you free. Not everyone can come with you to the next level of your life. You've probably heard that before, but until you live it, you don't really understand what it means. You think you can keep the same friends, spend time with the same people, hold on to the same relationships, and somehow still evolve into the next version of yourself. You think you can balance both worlds, but the truth is, you can't. The old life and the new life require completely different mindsets, completely different standards, completely different energy. And as long as you keep holding on to the people who were comfortable with the old you, you will be dragged back to the old life. It's not personal. It's human nature. People will pull you back to what's familiar. They will want you to stay where they feel safe with you. They won't say it directly. Some of them will love you deeply and still hold you back because they don't understand the level of sacrifice your transformation demands. They'll want to spend time with you like they used to. They'll want to have the same conversations, go to the same places, do the same things. But if you do, you'll shrink. Every time you try to go back and be that person for them, you'll lose yourself. And you've already spent enough time doing that. This chapter isn't about cutting people off with bitterness or anger. It's not about disrespect or arrogance. It's about clarity. It's about understanding that if you want to grow, you have to create space for that growth. And sometimes that means walking away from relationships that aren't aligned with your future. Not because they're bad people, but because they're not ready to run at your pace. And when you slow down for too long, you forget how fast you were meant to go. If you're always the strongest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're always the one pushing the conversation to higher levels, you're in the wrong conversation. You need to be around people who pull the best out of you, people who challenge you to grow, people who make you uncomfortable because they're not impressed by your old wins. They expect you to keep pushing, to keep leveling up. But until you create that space, until you're willing to stand alone for a while, you'll never find them. Some people won't understand why you're disappearing. They'll take it personally. They'll think you've changed, and you have. That's the point. You're not living by their rules anymore. You're not playing small so they feel comfortable. You're not downplaying your ambition to keep them from feeling insecure. You are locked in, focused, obsessed with your own growth. And that makes people uncomfortable. They'll try to pull you back into their world with guilt, with nostalgia, with anything they can use to remind you of who you used to be. But you're not that person anymore. You left that life behind for a reason. And if you're serious about never going back, you need to be willing to stay in the silence. To stay in the solitude, to stay focused even when it feels lonely. This is the season of separation, the season where you stop explaining yourself. You stop trying to convince people to come with you. You stop begging people to understand your vision. They won't. They're not supposed to. It's your vision, not theirs. And if you waste your energy trying to bring people who aren't ready, you'll slow down. You'll get frustrated. You'll start doubting yourself. You'll wonder if you're making the right move. But the ones who are meant to be in your life long term, they'll catch up. They'll evolve. They'll find their own path and meet you at the top. And when they do, it'll be worth it. But for now, you lead. You move forward without waiting. You are not obligated to keep relationships that drain you just because you've known them for years. You are not required to hold space for people who don't hold space for your growth. You have permission to outgrow people, to outgrow conversations, to outgrow environments. And you don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to explain why you're different now. You are allowed to want more for your life. You are allowed to demand more from yourself. And you are allowed to disappear from relationships that can't meet you at the level you're stepping into. The hardest part is the silence. It's the moments when you wonder if you made the right choice. When the phone doesn't ring as much. When you see old friends hanging out without you. When you feel the weight of solitude pressing in. But that silence is sacred. That space is where you meet the next version of yourself. That's where you hear your own voice clearly, without anyone else's opinion clouding your judgment. That's where you learn to trust yourself, to respect your own journey, to believe in your own vision. And when you get through that season, you emerge stronger, clearer, more focused than ever before. You're not leaving people behind forever. You're just leaving behind the need for their approval. You're leaving behind the version of yourself that needed their company to feel validated. And when you come back, you'll be someone new, someone they respect, someone they're inspired by, or they won't be. And either way, you'll be okay, because you didn't do this for them. You did it for you. This is your reminder that you don't have to hate anyone to outgrow them. You don't have to cut people off with anger. You can do it with love. You can send them love and still move forward. You can wish them well and still create space. But you owe it to yourself to honor your path, to protect your energy, to prioritize your purpose. And that starts by getting clear about who you allow into your life during this season of transformation. You don't have time for energy that pulls you backward. You don't have time for conversations that keep you stuck in your old identity. You don't have time to water relationships that don't water you back. You are focused on building something powerful. You are focused on becoming someone you respect. And that requires ruthless clarity about who gets access to you. Your time is precious. Your energy is valuable. Treat it that way. One day the people who didn't understand your silence will understand your results. One day the people who thought you changed too much will realize you were just becoming who you were always meant to be. And whether they support you or not, you'll be proud. You'll know you did what needed to be done. You led yourself when no one else could. You stayed disciplined when it would have been easier to stay comfortable. You chose growth over company. And that's what separates the few who evolve from the many who stay the same. Keep moving forward. Keep your focus sharp. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. You are building something bigger than yourself. And the ones who are meant to be with you will meet you there. Until then, keep going. Keep growing. The future you're building requires this version of you to lead without apology. And you're ready for that. You've been ready. Now it's time to walk it out.
Chapter 10. Live like a spy. Low profile, high impact. When you stop explaining yourself, when you move in complete silence, when you no longer feel the need to broadcast your every move to the world, you become dangerous. And I'm not talking about dangerous in the sense of hurting anyone else. I'm talking about the kind of power that can't be measured, the kind of control over yourself that makes people wonder how you did it. How did you go from where you were to where you are now without anybody seeing the work? Without anybody hearing about your struggles? How did you pull it off without the announcements, the posts, the endless updates about what you're working on? That's the power of living like a spy. Moving low, staying quiet, keeping your head down, doing the work without needing an audience. And one day, you walk in the room and you're not the same. One day, you show up and you're unrecognizable. You became someone else, someone sharper, someone stronger, someone they can't explain. And they didn't see it coming. That's the power of low profile, high impact. You've got to understand something. When you make noise about what you're working on, when you talk about your plans, when you constantly give people a front row seat to your process, you dilute the energy. You spread your power too thin. You give it away piece by piece every time you speak about what you haven't yet accomplished. And you don't even realize it's happening. It feels good in the moment. Telling someone you're grinding, letting the world know you're making moves. But what you're really doing is getting a hit of validation before you've earned it. And that hit can trick you into thinking you've already arrived. It can make you feel satisfied before you've finished the work. That's why the ones who truly transform don't need to talk about it. They're too busy building, too busy doing the work that nobody sees, the work that matters, the work that changes everything. You have to become addicted to silence, addicted to privacy, addicted to keeping your life small while your results get louder. When you move like a spy, you stop explaining yourself. You stop announcing things that aren't finished. You stop giving people the blueprint before you've even laid the foundation. And you focus on execution. Quiet, disciplined, relentless execution. That's where your power comes from. That's where your peace comes from. That's where you find clarity. Because without the noise, without the constant updates, you get your time back. You get your energy back. You get your focus back.
And you need all three if you're serious about leveling up. This is about control. Controlling yourself, your energy, your words, your actions. It's about deciding who gets access to you and who doesn't. Who knows what you're working on, and who doesn't. And most of the time, the answer is nobody. Nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to be updated. Nobody needs to see the process. Because if you're truly working, if you're truly locked in, you don't have time for updates. You don't have time for explanations. You're too busy moving, too busy improving, too busy becoming who you're supposed to be. Living low profile is not about hiding. It's about strategy. It's about understanding that the less people know about your life, the safer your energy is. You don't need outside opinions clouding your focus. You don't need unnecessary conversations draining your energy. You don't need doubters or cheerleaders influencing your decisions. You need clarity. You need silence. You need space to build. And when you keep your moves private, you get all of that. You create a world where you're in control, where nothing gets in unless you invite it. And that's where you grow the fastest. High impact doesn't mean you're loud. High impact doesn't mean you're flashy. It means when you move, the world feels it. It means when you execute, the results are undeniable. It means when you speak, it's because you've done the work and you're ready to deliver something real. And people respect that. They respect results. They respect quiet consistency. Because it's rare, because it's powerful, because it's something they can't explain or predict. And that's your advantage. That's your edge. Imagine what would happen if you took all the energy you spent talking about your plans and put it into actually executing them. Imagine what would happen if you stopped updating people and started surprising them with your growth. Imagine how different your life would be if you spent 6 months moving in silence, waking up early, training hard, learning more, working on your craft, sharpening your mind, taking care of your body, building your future, and saying nothing about it. Just showing up, every single day, like it's life or death, like it's your mission, because it is. And then after 6 months, you show up different, stronger, focused, sharp, disciplined, and they can't figure out how you did it. Because you didn't leave any clues. You didn't leave a trail. You didn't tell them you were coming. You just came, quietly, powerfully, fully prepared. That's what it means to live like a spy. Low profile, high impact. You've got to let go of the need to be seen. You've got to let go of the need for validation. You've got to let go of the ego that needs to be recognized. Because that's all noise. That's all distraction. And distraction is the enemy of progress. If you want to grow, if you want to evolve, if you want to become unstoppable, you need to move in silence. You need to protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you have, because it is. Your energy is your power. And if you waste it on talking, on explaining, on proving yourself, you'll have nothing left for the work that matters. So you stay quiet, you stay focused, you stay disciplined, and you let the results speak for you. You let your life be the proof. You let your actions do the talking. And when you do, people will respect you more, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it, because they can't deny it, because they see the difference, they feel the difference, and they know it's real. This is not about being invisible. This is about being undeniable. This is about mastering yourself so deeply that you no longer need anyone to co-sign your growth. You no longer need permission to level up. You no longer need validation to stay disciplined. You move because it's who you are now. You execute because it's your standard now. You lead yourself because you've decided that no one else is coming to do it for you. And when you live like that, long enough, something incredible happens. You find peace. You find clarity. You find a level of power and control over your life that you never thought possible. Because you're no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions. You're no longer distracted by noise. You're no longer caught up in drama. You are focused. You are building. You are winning. Quietly, relentlessly. And when you decide to make your move, it's not a maybe. It's not a hope. It's done. It's already finished. Because you've been preparing for this moment in silence, and now it's time to show up. So keep your head down, keep your circle tight, keep your plans to yourself, and keep moving, day after day, brick by brick, until you build something so powerful, so solid, so undeniable, that no one can ignore it. Not because you told them about it, but because they can see it, because they can feel it, because it's real. That's the power of low profile, high impact. And it's yours if you're ready to claim it. Now get back to work. You've got a legacy to build, and it starts in silence.